Thank you for being here, guys, and pleasure to host this panel. I think morning sessions are always tricky with the number of people who show up, but thanks all the same for doing that. I think just before we start, I think we have about 40, 45 minutes. I'll just get everybody to do a quick intro about who you guys are and what brand you represent. So maybe start with you, Ron.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ron Cain. I
Just
represent...
put the mic close to you.
Yes, excuse me. Thank you. My name is Ron Cain, owner and founder of Kuma's Corner, gourmet burger brand based out of Chicago. Kuma's has a cult-like following based on our chef-driven food, and we are rooted. Our culture is rooted in music and community. All of our burgers are named after bands, and just this past February, we were named by Guy Fieri as one of the top 5 restaurants in the USA.
Oh, wow, interesting, yeah. So look forward to having your stuff here. So it's mostly in Chicago or all over the US?
So Chicago, locations in Chicago and then also Indianapolis, and we're expanding in the US and then internationally as well.
Cool, cool. Over to you.
Perfect. Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Chuck Buttiglieri. I am also, our brand is from Chicago, Illinois. It's Pizzeria Uno. We developed the deep dish pizza nearly 84 years ago, 1943. We are all over the United States. We started our international presence close to 45 years ago. We did stop franchising for a good 15, 20 years, and we're getting back out there. We do have 3 restaurants currently in Kolkata, but we look to develop all over India.
And how many restaurants globally?
Currently about 65.
Oh, cool. So this is a very heavy pizza bias panel because you've got like 3-4 pizza experts here. So over to you, Rohit.
Hi everyone, good morning. Rohit Narang from Tossin Pizza. I am the founder of Tossin Pizza, and we started Tossin 2013 from a small shop in Gurgaon. So now we are India's first most growing gourmet pizza company. So we have 26 restaurants running right now, and we are growing more outlets.
Thanks so much. Akash, over to you. Another pizza guy. So
Yeah, I think a lot of pizza people in the panel. So I'm Akash Srivastava. I work with Devyani International. We have brands like KFC, Pizza Hut, Costa Coffee, and Wango. We recently acquired Biryani by Crew like half a year ago. So we have about 7-8 brands that we work with at Devyani, and we also manage a lot of food courts in the country.
thanks, Sid. Over to you.
Hi, good morning everybody. I am Siddharth Arora. I am the COO for Subway India business. We are about 25 years now in the country as a brand, and Everstone invested in this business about 5 years ago. About 1,000 plus outlets right now, and driving good for you and fresh and healthy forward.
Thanks. So very interesting panel. A couple of global guys, actually mostly global guys, and then a couple of Indian homegrown brands. So as you guys, maybe worth being in touch after the panel to learn from each other. Sid, I'll start with you. I think there's a lot of debate between, dine-in versus QSR versus cloud today. Just talk a bit about how you see, because Subway is primarily takeaway. I don't know whether you guys have dine-in as well, but how do you see that space emerging today between, because obviously a lot of people who are trying to open their own restaurants, who want to start new businesses or expand, continuously debating that. So start with just your thoughts on that.
Sure, I think good question. Post-COVID, a lot of brands actually moved to a lot of delivery first kind of a setup. Subway in India, back in the time, started with a very dine-in heavy focus, and practically not really much of deliveries. But post-COVID, the business pivoted to about majority business coming from delivery. And post that, we've been trying to find a balance. Today, we do about half and half of both. Yes, and we do a lot of takeaways, like you said, and as well as delivery, dine-in. I think the pieces that run dine-in versus delivery are very, very different. So for the brand, you need to really understand what does your brand stands for, Secondly, if you have a product that travels well, we have a lot of pizza friends on the panel. I think pizza is one product that really travels well. So for people who are trying to get into the business, they first have to look at what does their products attributes are. If I am into a burger category, for example, I would never want to build a business that does delivery first. Because
Now you have so many businesses like your good flipping burgers and all of these are primarily delivery only, I think.
so if you
Have,
look
I
at
think, have they cracked the whole delivery model?
So my take is that if you look at the whole, let's say the burger market, for example, there is a delivery portion which is a minority portion. Now people who are doing, let's say the cloud kitchens are just playing in that category. But if today, if you look at the whole category, it is still a dine-in first category because the product is fried. It needs to be consumed immediately. So if you try and play with the core attributes of the brand, your runway will always be limited.
And versus cloud, I mean, a lot of businesses which are starting pure cloud. Is there a good play? Is cloud a good way to test the market and then move into dine-in and then move into?
See, if you, in my mind, cloud kitchens have a market for, cuisine times where your gross margins are really high because in today's scenario, the 3PD aggregators take away a majority of your earnings. So if your P&L allows, only then you should look at a cloud kitchen. Otherwise, for me, the core product should define if you really want to get into a cloud kitchen space or not. And as far as your question on, is it a good trial to go into dine-in? I think you can, at best, what you can look at is how much are the consumer accepting your product and nothing beyond it. Because when you actually start to serve a product in a restaurant, it is the product, it is also the service and the ambience that you create. So cloud kitchen may not be the best test bed as far as you deciding that, okay, my product is going to succeed or not.
Sure. Akash, your thoughts on this? You were a jubilant, then you've traversed businesses. Just your thoughts on QSR, dine-in versus takeaway versus cloud.
I think I agree with Siddharth on the point that cloud kitchens alone can't be the barometer for you to try your product. And the aggregators do take a lot of share from it. We see a lot of startups building via cloud kitchen. One, it is very cheap for them to build. You can get a cloud kitchen for as low as 5 lakh rupee and you pay on revenue share. But then the larger question is, can you really scale up your brand with cloud kitchen only? Are you able to give the right experience? Because the third party deliveries are there. You can't control the last mile of your product. Whether your product is being delivered the best way or not, it again depends on someone else. So you can't control your product end to end. On the burger piece also that we spoke, I think a lot of the burgers have a lot of sauces. When you travel a distance, your buns and all become little soggy. So these are to be consumed immediately, and hence cloud kitchen may not be the best alternative. Obviously, you need to have a good mix of dine-in, delivery or takeaway, we call them in a very different manner, and cloud kitchens. Not one size would fit all. When you go beyond the point and you believe that your dine-ins are getting impacted due to your higher deliveries, then you open a cloud kitchen or a takeaway store. The idea is to give a seamless experience to people or the consumers who come. I see a lot of malls, the mall stores offering delivery. So during peak time, you also have to cater to delivery, and that is the time when your experience goes for a toss. And hence, a lot of brands I know of personally also do cloud kitchen or a detached store on the high street to make sure that your customer experience remains intact. So there is no perfect answer between the percentage of store you want to have between the dine-in, the carry-out store, and cloud kitchen. It depends on the category, your appetite to grow, and your peak times.
Sure. Rohit, coming to you, you're in the gourmet pizza space, so I'm sure for you the dine-in is the bigger play where you really get the customer to really experience. But then driving footfalls to a small brand which is really not that well known must be hard. So how do you balance dine-in versus takeaway versus have you thought about cloud?
I might sound like an old lala company today. See, end of the day, ROI matters the most. Some people focus on capex, some people focus on opex. So my point is very simple. We do our study. Like example, in Gurgaon we have 50-seater restaurants. In Mumbai, I have maybe 20-seater restaurant. So it's all depend on the area, the kind of rent you are paying, the kind of salary you are paying. So it's all depends on the the area you are catering. Example, we have a one cloud kitchen also in Vasant Kunj. That area is so vast, we only focus on delivery. And same time in GK, we have a dining restaurant. Example, in Gurgaon, we have, the 50-seater restaurants. In Hyderabad, we have 70-seater restaurant. It's all depend on the area and data we study. It's not an instant call. It's more a data-driven call.
Thanks. Coming to you, Chuck. You guys have opened restaurants in Kolkata now. Is the plan to go national? And then would you continue to expand more in Kolkata or look at a new city? Because India has many countries. It's not like, one country, right? Everybody comes and asks me, what's the strategy for India? And you always think there is no one strategy. It's many, many countries together. So your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. And, listen, cloud kitchens have become, not just in India, but in the US, have become huge, right? And pizza is the ultimate shareable experience. We would love full service restaurants where we can really kind of control the experience a little bit better, the ambiance, the dining experience. So the goal would be to grow in Delhi and Mumbai and continue throughout India. But, we want to come to the guest where the guests are. If the guests are looking for that cloud delivery experience, we want to bring it to them. If there's an opportunity for a full service sit-down casual dining restaurant, that's our specialty. That's what we've done for 83 years in Chicago and cities beyond in the U.S. So we'd really like to lean into the full service experience.
Yeah, and that's the best way to get people to try the product. Because if you start with, like I think what Akash and Sid was saying, if you just start with that experience of cloud, the last mile is not in your control. The way the delivery comes is not in your control. Also, the guys who make the delivery have no love for your brand. So the whole experience gets totally watered down, and then you have really, in a way, you can only get the feedback on taste. And how do you even do that through these platforms? Coming to you, Ron, what is your thoughts on India? Where are you guys looking to start? Is it going to be a dine-in experience versus takeaway? What do you?
Yeah, sure, appreciate that. So we're looking in large metropolitan cities, the Mumbai, the Bengaluru, Delhi. And our success is rooted in our food and our experience. We have musically based entity along with our decor. It creates a high energy atmosphere. So for us, the experience, the casual dining experience is the ultimate experience of Kuma's. But because our food is so good, 80% of our sales is represented by food, even though we have full service bar. We also are able to do QSR. So that is definitely something that's on the table and we're capable of doing. And then I will say in 2014, the delivery service in Chicago, Grubhub, came to us and they were only an ordering platform. And they told us if we signed up for them, they would hire drivers and start delivering. And on our first year, we did over $1 million, and we were their number one customer. So the quality of the food is diminished somewhat depending on the driver and then delivery and how that all goes. But we've tried to refine the process and the packaging so that it's ultimately the best quality food that we can deliver.
Sure. Sid, just maybe to shift gears to unit economics. Because at the end of the day, this is a business which you're going to make money on. And how do you control some of the elements of the unit economics from food costs to margins to rent to marketing costs to people? It's a pretty complex business, right? And unlike other businesses where you package something and ship it out, all of you guys, is a daily experience of the customer. You've got to be good every single day. You can't have a bad day because a bad day is a very painful day. And now in the world of social media, it can be a very, very painful experience, right? So just talk a bit about how do you maintain that and what is the driver for you guys as Subway for unit economics?
I think it's really important first to understand the business and see what is your scale model. Any brand, when they look at the unit economics, generally will say, hey, food cost and gross margins and labor and rent, etc. But I think between these lines, there is a huge play from brand to brand. So for example, if you are a cafe brand, so your locations have to be really good and impulsive, and your rent as a percentage to revenue really goes up. You really then are left with your food and beverage cost to come to to find a balance in the P&L. So I think the first thing is to look at what is the right scale model for your brand, and then stay true to it. One of the panelists here said that. Sorry, I think Rohit said that the ROI is something that drives it, but I think once you know what's your scale model, then you can figure out places where your model works. Not everything is your playing field across the country. India is a large country, like you said. So you need to figure out what works. If I have to step back and say, generally, we have our focus on, the gross margins like a hawk. We do product re-engineering. We ensure that, within the permitted realms, the costs are in control because that's your starting point. And then followed by labor. We keep a focus on our rentals as well because it's an important outflow. And I think rest is a long tail.
Sure. Akash, Sid's already talked a bit about that. How much is local sourcing versus central kitchen drive costing for you guys? I mean, how much do you source locally for some of your products? And how much is all supplied from the central kitchen? And how closely is that linked to drive profitability?
So I think we're talking about product engineering right now, and with the current times and the kind of cost pressure everybody's feeling, it is so important to make sure that you remain relevant while ensuring that you have the right balance between sourcing locally as well as ensuring that the core of the brand remains intact. You just can't outsource everything or bring everything locally. So that thin balance between the core or the basics of a pizza or the fried chicken or maybe cafe Costa for in our case, that is very relevant. So you have to make sure that the consumer gets the right experience while you can deliver through product engineering, value engineering, whatever you do. So there is no right answer to this, that what portion of it depends on the time. In the current time, I think you have to engineer a bit more.
Sid, quickly, for you guys, sourcing locally, veggies, etc., versus everything shipped to the restaurant from the commissary or central kitchen, is that almost 100%?
So yes, we have, I would say, other than the fresh veggies, we have 5 veggies that go into our sandwiches. Those veggies are locally sourced, but through a very tight control. And everything else is routed through the central. We don't have a central kitchen, but like you can say a central warehouse. The idea here is not so much of cost, but the idea here is to have a right control in terms of managing quality.
Okay, sure. Rohit, over to you. How do you manage it today with your 26 restaurants and growing? Do you have mostly centrally sourced, everything delivered, and then some level of local adaptation through quality control?
So we are in 21st century. So our idea is very simple. Whatever we are doing, we make everything fresh, but we'll make sure the quality control is there. The lockdown happened. So we introduce, we focus mainly on like a contamination and other things. How we bring the standardization is, we have vegetable cutter, meat slicer, the best equipment possible. So whole idea is, we believe in one thing. We are in restaurant industry, not in a product making industry. So our 90% focus is fresh produce. 10%, comes from the central kitchen for a recipe control. More like a dry recipe control, spices and other stuff.
Sure. Chuck, coming to you. How do you guys look at the whole unit economics of the business? How much of it will be central? How much is locally sourced? And how do you make that work?
Yeah, so what we've learned over the years in terms of anything globally outside the U.S. is shipping is costly. It's expensive. We will source everything locally. Everything will be made fresh. Again, we've been around for 84 years because of freshness, right? Freshness. We'll find the best quality flour, cheese, sauce, tomatoes, and make everything fresh in-house. In terms of unit economics, I'll tell you the biggest thing we focus on is really finding a size and an efficient kitchen, an efficient restaurant, because 30 years ago in this business, real estate didn't cost what it costs today, right? And you had these gigantic kitchens. The good and the bad of our original restaurant in downtown Chicago is it was a Victorian mansion that was built in the 1800s, right? It's a 200-year-old beautiful building, but it's a very, very small restaurant, and we've operated there for 84 years, and we have found ways to make a lot of pizza in a very small space. So really looking at those efficiencies, because you used to be able to afford large kitchens. You just can't afford it anymore. It doesn't make sense for the the unit operator at all.
So how big are the restaurants in Kolkata today?
So
in terms of number of seats, etc.
So they have 2 full service and 1 kiosk style. The kiosk is probably just shy of 400 square feet, and the restaurants are about 3,000 square feet. Our average unit in the U.S. is 6,000 plus square feet. Everything we've built in the last 4 or 5 years has been 4,000 or under, really looking at footprint. Our original is about 2,500 square feet, and again, has 70 seats, and we're on a wait 340 days a year. It's a very, very small, but very efficient.
Sure, Ron.
Yeah, so my background is in accounting. I'm actually a CPA, so we do weekly P&Ls, and for us, we really manage our food and our labor costs. For us, we have no freezers in any of our restaurants, and so everything is fresh. Most people come in because they are gourmet burgers with plentiful toppings, so everybody is taking pictures of their burger and putting it on Instagram, so we want to make sure that the consistency and the quality is there. So our chefs, if the product comes in and it's not up to par, they'll send it back.
Wow, and you said how many restaurants today in the US?
In the US, right now we have 3 with 4 more coming.
Okay. And the overall plan, are you guys there outside of the US as well, globally, anywhere?
Yes, correct.
And how big are the restaurants today?
So right now between 33 and 3,600 square feet.
Okay, sure. Sid, so just coming to franchising as a growth driver, right? Today, obviously, this industry has probably heralded the whole franchising model more than any other industry. I think the franchising probably started with the food industry more than any other business that I can think of. Clothing probably up there as well, but food was a real driver for that. How do you look at franchising as a growth strategy, and how much should you franchise and how much should you own? What's the sort of ballpark number to work with as businesses are looking to start up or grow or expand?
Yeah, I think for a business, it's completely for the founder or for the promoter to really decide that when does he feel that now it's the time for me to grow my business or take my product to a lot more people. That's where the trigger starts, and the decision, of course, depends on a lot of things. I think the first thing is that as a business, is your business ready to be franchised out? Because you as a founder, somebody who's created that business, or let's say if you are, you know every nut and bolt of the business, you know how things move. But when you hand over your business to somebody else, how do you pass on that knowledge, information, and control to that person is important. So first point is that you should know that your business is ready to be franchised out. That's my first point. If the business is ready to be franchised out, you feel, of course, after that, the decision completely depends on which market do you want to franchise out to. Do you wish to work with large groups where you hand over the baton once and then they take over, versus you want to franchise out to individuals or a small players where you still have controlling stake and you still have a say, but your business is still growing fast. Of course, the benefits are that, there is a lot more, resources that flow in with franchising out. People have money, they can invest in your business. It's faster to grow. You can decentralize a lot of decision making. You don't have to really run around, look at every site. Is it the right site? Because if you give out a market to a person, then he decides what's the right or wrong thing. But I think the bottom line is that your business should be ready to be franchised out, where the whole knowledge can move seamlessly, and you feel that the processes will take over. It's not the person who's driving the business. The processes are ready.
Sure. Akash, large franchisee versus small many small franchisees. What generally works better for you guys, and what has been your experience in?
I think just to add to what Sid said, on the first steps before franchising, one is, are you ready to franchise? And the other again, do you really want to franchise? And if the answer is yes, then you should know why. Are you looking at an asset light model that can be rolled up very fast? Do you want to put your own money? Do you think the model could be a FICO, which is franchisee invested and company operated, where on Sid's point, you have complete control. You are only taking a partner as an investor, or franchisee owned, company operated, whatever you may call. There are models which are franchisee operated, company owned. So the company puts in money, they don't want to drive business. So it is the local franchisee who has the know-how, especially in areas like Northeast and all, where not everybody may be willing to run the business. So company puts in money and they get a local operator. So the important question here is, what format do you want to start with for franchising? Now the next question is, what kind of setups do you want? Multiple local franchisee, which may be little difficult to control. And Subway, started in India with, I think unit level franchisee. There were maybe 300 franchisee, I don't know. What happens to quality? You'll have to deploy a large team to make sure your quality checks are there, your choice of property, your quality of manpower, your last mile deliveries. You have to complete a lot of pieces together for every store. So now the larger idea is whether you want to have 100 franchisees or one franchisee with 20 stores and having 5 of them. Do you have the right fundamental to make sure you are able to control right from the step 1 to the last step, where the pizza or the burger or whatever cuisine you are in, or the Subway for that matter, is being delivered? So if the answer is yes, that you are able to control everything, you give it at unit level. If not, then you begin with giving master franchisee to people, ensuring that you don't lose control. And I've seen brands who've given larger territory rights to people, and then the franchisees become so big that they are able to drive certain decisions. So you have to strike a very fine balance between, the territory franchisee, the unit franchisee, and growing with them.
Rohit, coming to you, you are in the expansion mode. At which point are you going to, I think you already started some franchising, but at which point do you scale up? And you said you only got a few franchises opening many restaurants. So you are looking for large franchises typically, right?
So for franchisee business, I think you have to figure out one thing. I believe franchisee, whenever we give franchisee to anybody now, we think for next 25 years, we look for a right candidate. That is the main part. I think always don't look for a money, always look for a right partner, which solve, I think, 90% of the problems. Actually what you need the most is operation control, quality control, training, hiring and running the particular unit in profit. So we always look for a right candidate, and if things are in right direction, we create opportunities for that particular person. In our system, we are running I think 13, 14 franchisee outlets, but it's owned by hardly 4 people. Each person started off, with a one franchisee. Now somebody own 4, somebody own 3, somebody own 2. So because our focus is very simple, we do our job, and they focus on a ground level.
Sure. Chuck, are you guys running your own restaurants now, or do you have a master franchisee, and what's the plan for India?
So in the U.S., we have a split of about 40% company-owned, 60% franchise-owned, and we have an agreement with Franchise India, and Franchise India will be the partner here in India for all things going forward. They will be the master franchisor, and listen, it is a people business, right? We've been talking a lot about food and product and things like this, but it is a people business. I can't agree more. The most important piece of franchising is they have to align with your ideals. They have to align with your company's vision. They have to understand hospitality. It's not just food, it's not just quality, but they have to understand the hospitality, because it's, when we bring people into our restaurants, it's, it's not about serving a product, it's about how you make them feel. And again, I mean, it is a relationship. Many of our franchisees in the U.S., we've had for 40 plus years. They are our family. They are as much a part of Uno's as anyone at the company at the corporate level. So it really it's getting into a relationship and with the people that understand what you're looking for and that are going to carry that on for generations, and hopefully pass those franchises on to their children.
Sure, sure. Ron, your thoughts on that, and how are you looking at India as a market? Going to open some of your own restaurants, then get the franchisee done, or get a master franchisor, and then still have a strong control?
Yeah, so we're looking for master franchise agreements, and as Chuck said, the people is what really matters. The people understand hospitality, the culture, the standards that we have, and making sure that that translates into the Indian market. We have had over the years a lot of demand, people inquiring about opening restaurants in the States and in Europe as well. And so, we're excited about the future and definitely master franchise opportunities in India.
Sure, sure. I think the key thing here, besides people and is the process. Having detailed process books, because where things fall apart is where the franchisee starts improvising and doing a lot of stuff. So I think you have to learn from the McDonald's catalog, which is whatever the McDonald's manual, which is like, thousands of pages thick. Every single process is detailed, so that there is no flexibility on franchisor to basically do things differently. But yet, at the end of the day, it is a people's business, and you have to create that. So just coming to you, talk about the use of technology and analytics, and how do you drive customer engagement today with customers? Because there are so many options. I mean, I just look at 5 brands and maybe 10 brands sitting here across different formats. How do you create that loyalty with customers and the stickiness? And what is it that you're doing besides advertising, or even including advertising, to be top of mind for consumers?
I think the biggest point first is to have the right product and process. If then everything else can be layered on top. Of course, technology in today's world is very important. Your world is kind of concentrated on your mobile phone today. So a lot of communication that earlier used to happen on the television or let's say on the billboards outside is all now concentrated on your phone. And today, I think knowing your customer is extremely important. If you have trails of when your customer comes to you, how much does he order, etc., you can drive behavior to an extent. At Subway, while I think we are slightly behind in this whole thing, we haven't, because we are a very large individual franchisee business, all our focus used to go really in terms of managing them and not managing the customer. I think that's the shift that's happening in the organization today, that we started to look at consumer behavior, driving frequency, etc. But I think technology plays a very important role because, the interface, like I said, is a mobile phone. And every customer today, from a data perspective, is a phone number. So as long as you can predict and influence behavior, I think it works.
Just from your point of view, Akash, what is it that you guys run one of the largest, restaurant businesses? How do you guys, what is it that you are doing to continue to stay relevant for your customers? And do you do a lot of reach outs, or are you still driven by, marketing and just getting, it's like that spray gun sort of thing rather than focused marketing? Where are you guys on that journey?
I think we do a beautiful mix between conventional marketing and the digital one. At times I feel that a lot of people are doing too much digital and they are losing, the voice of the consumer. That only comes through the traditional marketing channel. The best way is your own food, the experience that you give your consumers while they are dining at your stores. So I think we strike a very fine balance between digitalization and ensuring that, the consumer is spoken to. So whenever you get into a KFC, the way you are greeted, that itself does a lot of good, because you may be in some other mood, you may not have a good day, but then when that that the employee behind the POS counter smiles at you and looks at you, you kind of become happy, and then you order, and then that guy would be able to understand your psyche and kind of suggest you something. So personal touch continues to be the single largest driver. Even for a lot of pizza chains, the customer acquisition doesn't happen through the app. It happens through the in-store dine-in. More than half of it even today, even for US, which is super high on technology. So it is imperative that your in-store dine-in experience continues to be your top grab for consumer, in spite of all the data analytics happening. Data would only tell you how to bring in your consumer, what has he taken, the repeat business, and then you can start, micromanaging his entire journey. But then it has to be experience-led. in the digital era.
Uh, Rohit, just talk a bit about how is it that a new smaller business which is growing, how are you engaging with customers today? What is your reach out plan, or do you just base on word of mouth, or do you do a lot of local marketing to catch people in the vicinity? What is it that you do differently?
So we are a little old school in few things, and we are changing according to the new market also. So old school, like we still do the pamphleting, example to do the awareness till this date. But same time, if you're gonna go and Google out about any restaurant, it's a top-rated restaurant. It's not happen overnight. You have to focus on customer experience. You have to focus on everything. I proudly say one thing: we are not into pizza making business. We are into pizza serving business. I am 100% responsible for packaging, delivery, or making a nice pizza. I cannot say that okay, we screwed up in while deliver a pizza, or a manager forgot to remove the onions from the pizza, example. So our main focus is customer experience, and because of that, you have good customer reputation, and then we are very much okay with you. We have our own app from last 6 years. 20% business comes from the app only. We are technology friendly also, and same time we are old school. We want people to come to the Tossin, experience the Tossin, and then they decide they want to dine in, they want late order, they want to eat 2 a.m., or maybe we are open for 19 hours a day. You can have a Tossin like 6 o'clock in the morning also. So we are like more into comfort zone, and we provide almost like dine in to take away to delivery every service.
Sure, sure. Sid, what was the size of downloads, or what was the size of the app at Jubilant? They are one of the largest downloaded app in India, right? Is it still true? Do you know, based on your, Akash from you guys, what is the number of people who sort of use the app, and they really set the trend for apps, right?
So yes, I'm not on top of the numbers as to how much is the download, but yes, they were the pioneers. That's where they started. Swiggy, Zomato's really came in late, much years after when we've started. We used to have phones on the counters back then. To a shift from telephones to a mobile app. So yes, the technology really played a role for that brand, because they were always a technology first. They are the technology first brand. Home delivery means a lot more touch points. So from that perspective, yes.
Chuck, coming to you, how do you plan to use marketing and reach out? What is the plan for Kolkata and other cities as you look at expansion?
Yes, so we look at it a couple different ways, right? So we have a very robust customer loyalty program where we speak constantly to our loyal guests, invite them back in, invite them in for experiences. We want to share in birthdays, holidays. We look at our dining experience as an experience. It is a celebratory. We believe our product is a celebratory product. Our service and hospitality is really lean to celebratory. So we want to lean heavily into that. And when we have a guest, win them with the service, the hospitality, and then have that guest repeat again and again and again. In terms of external marketing, listen, we pride ourselves in getting outside the four walls. We go to events. We share the pizza everywhere we can. If there's a festival, we go to the festival. One of the beauties of pizza is it's easy to travel. You can prepare it on site. So anytime we have that opportunity to introduce ourselves to a new group of guests, we really do. So we pride ourselves in that outside the four walls, festivals and all types of community events.
Ron, some thoughts from you on the whole marketing strategy for India, and how do you plan to reach out to people here to talk about your product and the whole relation with music, etc.? What is the plan for that?
So we have an interesting marketing past. Our first 12 years, we didn't spend $1 on marketing. Everything was word of mouth, recognition, We're on several TV shows and in publications and what have you. But that all changed in 2015, and we have invested in technology and do the SEOs and the apps and the websites and social media and all those good things. But for us, we do a lot of events, and every month we create a burger of the month, and we collaborate with bands and name the burger after a band. So we have a portfolio of about 350 burgers after 21 years. But the bands will come in to the restaurant when they come into town, and then that'll drive people to come in as well. When there's concerts and shows, people are coming in before the shows and after the shows. So again, really connected to the music industry and sort of looking at the same angle in the India market as well. And so, and I'll just add this, that we're looking to really develop regulars, people that come in because they enjoy the experience so much, and they want to tell their friends, like, you got to check this place out. And for me, it's really cool when someone comes in internationally and says, I was told that I need to come to this place when I come to Chicago.
That's a very cool idea, man. Linking it to bands and linking it to, so maybe there's some thoughts here on sportsmen, celebrities. People can link and get their, whatever their special recipe as part of the flavors. That's a very interesting play. I haven't seen anybody else do that. So let's see how that works here. Any last thoughts, starting with you, Sid? Where do you see the industry going? If you were sitting here in 5 years from now, how would you see the business? More home delivery, more eating out. We have all these theories about people will only be ordering in and nobody will go out. And then all of that stuff changed after COVID. So where do you see this from 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think definitely what is going to happen is that consumers are going to eat out more. When I say eat out, as in you will either eat out or order in more. You will be cooking lesser at your home. I think that's a phenomenon that has happened all across the world. We see that happening in our market. People don't have time or energy after work to really come back home and cook. I think the decision of eating out or ordering in depends on your mind space as a consumer in that moment. So I think both will grow and brands will find their own place. There will be brand that will be delivery first. There will be brand that will be dine-in first. And there will of course be a few brand that will do both. But I think the whole frequency of consuming out of your, not making in your kitchen and eating from outside is going to grow. And that has happened globally, and I think India is no different.
Your thoughts, Akash?
I think as we go out, travel the world, experience people, cultures, countries, languages, and food. We go out, find something, and then we want the same food because we liked it in Middle East or in Europe or maybe America or Europe, any other parts. We'd want to have that food in India. So the cuisines would grow. People would want to experiment with food and with cuisine. Not every time you will go eat a dosa. You would want to have a Tibetan food or a Mexican, Lebanese, Thai, Vietnamese. There are some other cuisines that are being very popular now. There are restaurants being created only on the cuisines. So one, the eating out frequency would definitely continue to increase. And within the category also, people will choose to define what they want to eat on a particular day. So hence the future for the QSR, the casual dining, the fast casual dining, the pub, bar and all, everything going to be very high. We are getting more global each day. We want to, try out things. The disposable incomes are good and people want to live good life. The weekends are only to celebrate, and Uno and the other brand that we see are all celebratory brands. So, and Uno has been in India. I've been to one of your flagship stores. So I think the whole idea is to have good time. While you work for 5 days, you want to live a good life for 2 days. And hence the eating out would be the single largest thing. It is that small moment of joy, when you want to celebrate with people. You don't buy real estate when you are happy, right? You don't buy clothes when you are happy every day. But food is something that, you would order in. I got a promotion, I order in a pizza or a cake or anything. Even the rickshaw puller, if the kid gets good marks in class 10th, he would go to a pizza place or a burger place and treat his kid. He wants to be feeling very special about that day. So those small moments of joy are something that food only creates. It is the cheapest form of joy in our lives. And all of us here do that. So eating out is continuing to, drive the way this country is living in Bharat.
Sure. Just from a point of view of what is the frequency of visit in your restaurants and sit in yours as well today?
So one data point, we are still less than 20% of what Japan eats out. For India's QSR industry to grow, we only have to start eating one more time every year, and that itself would be very big. So I think it takes about 12 to 13 a year for people, and that's very low because we have a very large base of population. 150 crore.
Yeah.
But if you look at the relevant section, the top 20%, I think they eat out every 2 weeks.
Sure, and I think what's interesting, I was reading a data point that now we have 7 occasions to eat every day, literally. So out of which I think 5 are on the go outside. Only 2 are at home. More and more people are out now. When you leave in the morning, then there's a midday meal, then there's a dinner, lunch, then there's a snacking time in the tea, and then if you have a long day and people who are working longer. So there's 7 occasions. So quite interesting. So lots of occasions for brands to offer products. Just last thoughts on that, Rohit, from you.
So, India is changing quite fast. We see lots of concerts are happening. Example, things are moving pretty fast. And now look at the market. Lots of Indian brands are growing crazy. We call Benne, Dosa, Rameshwaram or Good Flippin' Burger. So many brands, even Tossin we say. So, people are changing and people looking for, gourmet experience. And I personally believe next 5 years, Indian brands will grow crazy.
Sure. Your thoughts on this, giving from a global perspective.
Absolutely, and I think, I look at it over the last 10 years, and I look at my children, right? So my children love food of the world. I think the palate of everyone today is far more educated than it was 20, 30 years ago. I can tell you that, when I was a kid, I can't tell you that I ever tasted Indian food. My children love Indian food. We have our favorite Indian restaurant that we go to, probably once a week. And I think about those experiences that you have. The best family moments I can think about are shared over food. It's the old saying, break bread, right? But so I look at where the future holds is, we're all so busy, right? On my flight over, there was no internet, and I was beside myself because I was like, what am I going to do for 15 hours without the internet? And there was a gentleman sitting next to me, and he said, let's just talk. And we talked, and we chatted, and we had a great conversation, and I didn't miss that device, not in my hand. So I look at it, and I think, one of the things I'm most proud with at Uno's is we developed a deep dish pizza class, right? So we invite people to come in, and we teach them how to make deep dish pizza. It's about a 2-hour experience. We teach them everything from making the dough to how to put the cheese, and people bring their families again and again. We've done this for, I want to tell you, the last 8 or 9 years. We have families that come at least once a year. They bring their entire family to come and take the class, share it together. In Chicago, we also have a Mexican restaurant. We did the same thing with a tamale class. I believe that people want experiences, right? They want to share experiences with their friends, with their family, and they do that best over food and hospitality.
Sure. Last thoughts from you, Rod.
Sure, thank you. So I agree with Chuck as far as like breaking bread and food brings people together, absolutely. One of the things that I've noticed as I've traveled extensively is burgers travel across the world. People love burgers, and we in Chicago, we don't just offer beef, we have other proteins. We have chicken breast, chicken tenders, veggie patties, vegan, and bison as well. So I feel like that translates into the Indian market. We just had a group of 80 people come up from Brazil on Friday to visit our restaurant and wanted to learn more about our process and our history. So that was kind of cool. But like I said, I think burgers travel for sure around the world. And one of the things that excites me about the India market is the 820 million Gen Z millennials that they're looking for experience when they dine out. And I feel like that's something that we definitely offer.
Sure. I think so. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not sure where the Franchise India folks are, but thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Great conversation, lots of learning for me, and always good to hear different perspectives on how people look at the brands, the industries, the growth. And we've got some high growth businesses, large businesses, growing and new. So good variety here. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to us, and hope it was interesting for everybody here. Thank you.